The February CPI inflation numbers came out this morning, and they showed that inflation is accelerating for the second month in a row, especially for core CPI inflation. And it also shows that the hotter than expected January numbers that came out last month were not an outlier. This shows that the last mile of inflation, getting it down from 3% to 2%, is the hardest part, and the Federal Reserve probably realizes that. And look, Jerome Powell has mentioned, in his Senate and House hearings from the other week, as well as the last Fed meeting and the 60 Minutes interview, that he wants to just see more progress of inflation getting to that 2% level. It doesn't actually have to be that 2% level in order to cut rates. So I think the market's mostly pretty much shrugging this off. Right now, a May Fed rate cut's pretty much off the table. The market's starting to price that out. June is starting to decrease slightly. I wouldn't be surprised if a rate cut happens in Q3 or Q4. We had the CPI year over year at 3.8% compared to the 3.7% economists estimated. The CPI year over year was 3.2% versus 3.1% economists estimated, and then core CPI was 3.8 versus 3.7% economists estimated. And then month over month for CPI was 0.4%. And then for core CPI, which is CPI minus volatile food and energy, came in actually slightly lower than estimated at 0.3% compared to the 0.4% economists estimated. This shows overall that inflation, as I said earlier, is still hotter than expected, and the last mile of getting inflation down to that 2% level is the hardest. But Jerome Powell also opened up the door that with flexible average inflation targeting, that he's starting to walk back the necessity of getting it to that 2% level. So I think the Federal Reserve will likely be happy with this. It's good, but inflation is still stubborn. This will likely mean that the Fed will probably hold rates a little longer than estimated. I wouldn't be surprised if the first rate cut, as I said earlier, is in Q3 or Q4. But honestly, it's possible, and it's not my base case, that there's a possibility that there won't be any rate cuts at all in 2024. Obviously, we have to see, but the economy is proving really resilient, especially with the tech, all the tech companies and AI. That really added some new economic strength, and with inflation kind of stabilizing, although stubborn, the economy is still doing pretty well right now.